Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. This is about democratizing multiplayer game development, specifically with the Unity multiplayer services. Before we start, I had a few questions for you guys, just out of curiosity. So how many of you here today have made or are currently making a multiplayer game? Yeah, just a show of hands. Most of you. Nice, okay. So of you guys, how many of you have tried the Unity multiplayer stuff, the new stuff? Just very few. Okay. And so this is even more fine-grained. Of you guys, how many of you have tried the services, the Matchmaker and the Relay server? There's a guy right there. I want to talk to you after this. Okay. So the title of this talk is a variation of the Unity vision, democratizing game development. It's about specifically multiplayer game development. But first, a few introductions. I'd introduce my esteemed colleague, Laurus Olafsson. He's a networking team lead. He works out of Reykjavik. I'm Eric Yule, and I'm the director of development in the Copenhagen office. But the Unity networking team is about 6 people total. So in addition to us, we have Sean Riley in Florida and Jeremy Martin in Boston. There's Alexei Bramachev in Vancouver and Shuguan Lin in Seattle. It's a completely multinational, completely distributed team. And what better group of guys to do a multiplayer networking kind of thing, right? We have to eat our own dog food. Together we have a combined, 2-3 decades of experience making multiplayer games. Most of our experience is in MMOs, so we've worked on titles like Ultima Online, World of Warcraft, Lord of the Rings Online, and even the recent, it wasn't an MMO, it was a MOBA, Infinite Crisis. So we all love multiplayer gaming, and we all have this passion for multiplayer technology, and that's what drives what we've done with Unity multiplayer and what we're continuing to do. So the structure of this talk today is it's mainly focused on the services, but we're going to start with some context behind it, and we're going to continue to sort of drill down into details to get to the specific details for our Matchmaker and our Relay server. And we'll have a couple of live demos for you somewhere in there, and then at the end we'll talk a bit about our roadmap, which you heard a little bit about this morning if you attended the roadmap talk, but we'll go into more detail, and we'll give you guys all an opportunity to grill us. And we'll have a Q&A session at the end. But if we should run out of time, you can find Laurus and I at the Ask the Experts area. So what do we mean by multiplayer democratization? Like I was saying this morning, we have this grand vision that anyone, regardless of level of skill or experience, who has a dream to make a multiplayer game of any kind, they should be able to do so. They should, anything from like a turn-based, like a card game to, a Twitch visceral first-person shooter, head-to-head or thousands of players. And, this is a very ambitious vision, and we don't do it all in one bite, or we wouldn't have shipped anything in 5.1. So we break this up into phases. And we just shipped our first phase in 5.1, which just went out a couple weeks ago. And we'll have at least 2 more phases, or maybe there's even a phase 1.5. We'll talk about that a bit more later. So then back to the vision, when we first started putting our heads together about this, we thought maybe the first step for us should be taking care of the pain of multiplayer development. I mean, we've all experienced the pain. We all know how to overcome it, but many people who have not done it before might not. So yeah, there are degrees of pain, and I think multiplayer can be a bit towards the red section. Usually, it always requires a deep knowledge of like what is like the sockets API. How does that work, and what kind of protocols do you need to establish to make your game work? Usually it takes like an experienced network engineer to create that for you, or you have to spend a lot of time training yourself up. Another pain point is then you've made a multiplayer game. Now, how do you get your players to find each other? Like, if you think back to the old days of like Quake 1, there was like some really rough solutions where people would post their IP addresses to a website, and then you could go and look that up and copy that and paste it in, and you could play with other people. But maybe that's not so easy or nice in the 21st century. Then once players find each other, getting them to connect is always a huge pain point, especially if everyone's behind a router with NAT, which probably everybody is. And then the actual solution for this players finding each other and for connectivity requires a fair bit of infrastructure, which is really nothing at all like game development. It's just like systems engineering. And that's not maybe so fun, especially when you have to try to scale this up and down dynamically, which nobody gets right the first time, and it's very expensive and time-consuming to get done. So yeah, we wanted to relieve the pain, and so we set this phase 1 as the multiplayer foundation. And like I said, that just went out with phase 1 in 5.1. So those of you who are working on multiplayer games who didn't try Unity multiplayer yet, I would encourage you to try it. It's quite easy to convert, and we're also quite willing to help you with all of your questions. The elevator pitch for this is basically it's powerful yet easy to use technology, tools, and services infrastructure for making multiplayer games, which no, that's actually what we have tried to do. So we have these networking components, which internally we like to call like our higher level stuff, which is intended to relieve the pain of needing to be a networking engineer, so that you can just add these components to your scenes and things just work. Kind of like you saw Lucas doing, although he is actually a networking engineer, so that's not really a fair test. We have a transport API, so if you are a networking engineer, you can get access to the low-level details and just really dial things into exactly what you need. And this is kind of a design pattern in Unity that we're doing more and more of with all the new systems. There's like this easy-to-use set of components that you can that anybody should be able to make use of, and then there's like a more expert mode API. Once you've easy to use, difficult to master, but once you've mastered it, you should be able to get in and do what you want. The other pain relief, we made this Matchmaker service, and that's solving the problem of players being able to find other people to play with. And our relay server is solving the problem of getting players to connect, in the sense that it's not NAT traversal, which is always prone to failure, but it is a independent, it's an external third entity with a public IP address that everybody can connect to and thus play with each other. And this abstract sense of the Unity multiplayer services is what we've established basically in AWS that handles all of the deployment, the configuration, the scaling up and down. So we've solved the infrastructure for you. So what do we mean by the foundation? I mean, I kind of touched on it in really general terms just there. It's kind of split up into two parts. We say it is tools and technology and services infrastructure. So the tools and technology, we have this really high performance transport layer that's implemented in terms of UDP and has multiple levels of quality of service. So you can actually create something like TCP if you really wanted. You could set it to be reliable, guaranteed delivery. And it would actually perform better than TCP for you. So we have this transport API, like I mentioned earlier. It's a more socket-like interface if you really need to dial things in, or you want to establish your own networking model other than what comes implicitly in the networking components. And these networking components are what I was just talking about. They establish really simple and secure client-server model. So there's always the sense of a host, a client that acts as a server, and all the other clients communicate through it. They're not to each other. But the services infrastructure are what we're on about today. So this Matchmaker is intended to provide just basic functionality for creating rooms, giving them maximum player limits, setting passwords, and that kind of stuff. We just want to help you get your players together. We're not intending to provide things like true skill or leaderboards or anything like that. The relay server, of course, is like I was saying as well. It's getting people to play together who are stuck behind firewalls with that. So the tools and tech we've covered quite a bit before. Other unites. So we had a blog that these links will be available to you when we post these slides in PDF format later. But we did have an announcement blog several months ago. There was a blog about our transport layer and a blog about the sync VARs. And the last Unite presentation in Seattle was recorded on YouTube, where Sean Riley went through and created the 2D shooter example and showed how easy it was to hook things up and make them multiplayer. So yeah, today we want to drill more into the multiplayer services. And with that, I'll hand off to Lars. Thank you, Lars.
Thank you. So we already mentioned Matchmaker and Relay. Like a third component to this can be the web configuration to set up your project, set up your game types to sort of like a dashboard. Like all of these services are running now in the cloud environment, so we can easily deploy more instances. We take care of all the scaling issues for you, so you don't need to worry about concurrencies and the game is getting very popular, so I need more servers. It's all dynamic, and we'll take care of all of these things for you. Currently, we have 3 areas deployed. So it's the Americas, Europe, and Asia with Singapore. And we have people working on adding China. So like you have instances inside China, because it's quite different to say you have servers in Asia. It doesn't mean much for people inside China. So we're working on that so the people all around the world can have fast access to the relays. Currently, these services are running in preview mode, so we want you to try them. We have free access to test them out, and we'll figure out if things are good and ready. Then we'll go out of preview. That's the dashboard. So we have a lot of services now, and we're trying to consolidate them all into one dashboard where they have a common UI and common elements. There's like a one-stop place to set up your projects and what services you want to enable on your projects and those kinds of things. So for multiplayer, it means like setting up the room size, which is important for your CCUs. You can see your current usage. We're working on right now adding more things, more features like statistics and reporting about how your game is doing, like how much bandwidth it's using. I'll talk a little bit more about CCUs later. This is an external dashboard now, and we have integration with the editor, which we'll show you in a little bit. But in 5.2, there's been work on getting all these services literally inside the editor. So you can, if you open your project, you open the multiplayer window, and you can immediately see what you set up and how many CCUs are being used and how the game is doing. This is coming in 5.2 and more later on. It's like a sneak peek at what this will look like. So CCUs means concurrent users. We'll have 4 tiers for subscriptions, like we have established now for the other services. You can pick a tier most appropriate for you. And a rule of thumb is that the CCU is 10% of your monthly users. So 100 means 1,000 people are playing the game. We'll have a free tier, like the other services. So you can always try it, but it's meant like for development. You can't release a game on the free tier unless it's like very small. The higher level tiers are available as a subscription, and you always get a 12-month period with the pro level tier if you have Unity Pro. So you get free access with your pro subscriptions. So the Matchmaker. So this is for allowing people to easily look each other up. It's a basic functionality: create games, list games, join games. This works pretty closely with Relay. These two services are sort of joined right now. This manages the CPU usage, like the Matchmaker and Relay. They know how much you can use and how much you're using. They keep track, and you can like set these up with like an editor component. And we also have like a package with a lobby, which we'll hopefully have time to show you, and or direct API. So this is not a part of the higher level APIs. It's just like an API, and you can use the API directly, or you can use our components, or like whatever you want. So this is like just shows how you would set this up. This is the network manager. It's actually a customized network manager, but this is just something you add to a game object. You can enable the HUD, and you can show these buttons. And it's so easy to change these because these buttons are just directly calling functions. And you could use your own UI and just replace function calls and customize it very easily. So the API is all in a network match class. Create match, list match, join match. Just to show you, it's very easy. The name, size, if you want to have a public or private passwords to protect private matches, list matches, like page 0, 20 per page, and connect to one of the matches you just received. The network ID is like the identifier which identifies this session. So the Relay is an optimized C+ server. Like this has been developed specifically for just one task, just to send messages from A to B. This is used to fix the NAT issues, like we mentioned, which is very prevalent. That's like almost everybody has issues with NAT and firewall, no matter what device you're on, except maybe consoles. This is like designed to be massively parallel, so we can make good use of the hardware. We're using IOCP completion ports, libuv for event, like backend communication with ZeroMQ and protocol buffers. Like we tested this with our cloud instances, and can see that we can get like high concurrencies just with one instance, like up to 10,000 per server. So it's easy to scale to whatever numbers we need. And like it's important to know that these are like communal. Like these are not isolated per game type. Like you can have one relay servicing like 100 different games and 100 different game sessions. So there are like methods we use for like limiting what each session is, like who can talk to each other, and then like also making sure that you don't have runaway game sessions using all the bandwidth on that game, like a server instance. So there's limiting on a per player basis. So the bigger the room, the more players you have, the more bandwidth you're allowed to utilize. And it's like a running average of 4K per second, but it's over the lifetime. If you don't use much, then you can like have a peak traffic, and it will still be fine. We won't block you as soon as you go over what we allow as average. So the old system, like A lot of people are asking about how does this compare with the old system? I'm doing this, and I want to keep doing that, but there's differences. It doesn't map directly. The old system had master server, facilitator, connection tester, proxy server. These were all rather simple servers, which were just open source, and you just download, you build, and you run on your own. Like, we had no hosting like we do now. These were not like services we wanted to provide, except for a test instance, which you could use for development and like QA. But it's like people might have used that, but it's not like meant for that. There's like one instance, and that's all we have. This is like a NAT punch-through oriented. The facilitator is for connecting, setting up the connectivity between two people who can't see each other. So to fake a connection to an actual entity. And the connection tester is meant to figure out who can, in theory, connect to someone else. So you could, like, in advance, see if the user A can connect to user B to inform them that you can, like, connect to this game session or not. But this never worked very well. Like, the NAT punch-through methods sometimes worked, sometimes didn't, and even the connection tester failed to detect accurately if it would actually work. The only way to know is just to actually try it, and then maybe it works for a couple of minutes. Like, it was very unstable. So the Matchmaker we have is sort of similar to the master server. It's just like a directory service to advertise games, to list games. Like, a lot of people have been using the master server just to advertise matches. But this Matchmaker is meant to do the same thing. But like, a key difference here is that we're not open sourcing the Matchmaker, or we're not making it available for downloads. Like, it's very much tied together with the relay right now. So it might be something we'll do in the future. We already have some work in, like, untangling them, so you can use just the Matchmaker and do direct connections. But because we're not like a NAT punch-through oriented, then it's not a limited value to be able to list a match which you can't connect to. So it's something we might add. It might make more sense to open up the Matchmaker for direct connections when we have maybe some NAT punch-through library included. So it's something we have on the list, but it's not like in the immediate roadmap. It's not like scheduled for any release. So like, this isn't something you have to use. You can use any matchmaking solution, like anything for listing servers, connecting to servers. You can use that. You don't have to use this. This is just like, if you want to use the services, then you need to use this. Like, we even have an example on the forums, which was like Sean Raleigh, like, seeing that how simple the master server is, and just created the API so you could do the same things just with a Unity server, just for listing games and connecting to games. It's pretty simple. We have local discovery support. It's in the transport layer right now, so you can do LAN gameplay like without hassle, like for free. You don't have to go through the internet. Like, if you just want to have a LAN session or on a local Wi-Fi. We don't have like easy to use drop-in component support for this today, but it's like on the list of things, like the immediate list. I think it's for 5.2. Yeah, so just wanted to reiterate that the multiplayer feature is just a normal feature in Unity. So you can use that. You don't have to use any services if you don't want to. So demos.
Yes. Thank you, Loris.
Yes.
So the multiplayer lobby and the Matchmaker are two things we wanted to show you working today. The multiplayer lobby is, think of it as like a template that provides basic functionality and placeholders for you to create a customized lobby that's specific for your game. So in the existing network manager component that we shipped with in 5.1, we were getting some feedback from some of you guys that it would be really useful if we could also provide some sort of a lobby system. So we did that, and we have this roughed in, and this is what the template looks like right now. It's going to be a new package in the standard assets that provides this multiplayer lobby. Say coming soon. I think soon means 5.2, but it could mean 5.3. The main points, though, is that this uses the new UI system. There's support for the controller, mouse, touch, keyboard. It will have full source code and prefabs, and like I mentioned, it's completely customizable so that you can make it look like it should for your game. So for the demo, it's just it's just going to be a very simple demo to show how we convert one of our existing example projects from using the network manager to this multiplayer lobby, to show you how easy it is and how you can just make it happen for yourself. There's an example of the lobby usage in our NetworkStarter example project, which is, we posted our example projects in the Unity forums under multiplayer. So if you really want to check this stuff out now, you can. So we'll start with this 2D shooter project, which we demoed the creation of in Unite Seattle 2014. If you really want to see that, there's the YouTube video that I linked to earlier, which again you'll get when we post the slides. So we'll start with that project. We'll create or convert what we call a lobby scene. And what that means is there will be a scene that's separate from your actual game scene. So think of it maybe as like a title scene or whatever, where you want to get everything set up before you start gameplay. And then it'll transition into gameplay. So we'll do that, and we'll import the package. We'll add the prefab, we'll configure it. We'll add this event system so that the UI elements get the appropriate events in the game scene. And then we'll just do we'll run a quick demo through localhost. So yeah, let's switch over to Unity. And here, if we just do a quick run, yeah, you can see the existing network manager HUD that you get. You can LAN host, that sort of thing. Yeah, you see there's no concept of a lobby or anything like that. So just as a quick refresher, you can see some of the things like, we have spawn info. Would it be helpful if I set that to the light skin? Is that more readable? I can't actually see the title bar. You know what? That was an academic question. Let's just press on. So anyway, the point was that this new package is going to be almost identical to the network manager component. So I will just quickly import the package, which I have stashed away here. And this package will come with a number of prefabs. Oh, I got to go this way. Yes, it's backwards. So you can see sort of the list of stuff. I mean, the reason it's not released at the moment is it's including some things which might not necessarily be necessary, but...
I don't see that.
No, you'll never see that. I forget this screen is not projected. But the point is still correct. The reason it's not available to you today is the package is not completely optimized. It's completely functional, as you'll see, but it's including some additional stuff which is not exactly necessary. So we'll go into here. We'll go to network, lobby, prefabs, and we'll just bring this guy up. We'll add him, and you should see he's very similar to our old network manager component. And we'll just disable him, and we'll go back to this guy. And here's where we have options for the lobby canvas, the offline canvas. You can set these to whatever makes sense for you, and to be completely customizable. So we'll go and we'll set so we'll make this scene, which is currently called our start scene, and we'll make that the lobby scene. And this is going to be fun. No. Yes. So now that's set. And the play scene is the game scene, which is the network scene. And then just like with the network manager, you have to have the prefab for the player, which is not panel, but our ship, which you saw me run just a moment ago. Yeah, we could also set the other spawn stuff. So like when we probably want to synchronize between a client and other clients, we want to set things like the bullet and the power-ups and things like that. But I'm not going to actually do that because this is a weird, like, reversed system. Instead, I'm going to go back to this. We'll check our steps.
We have to talk to it.
Right. So we imported the package, we added the prefab to the scene, we configured the manager. So now we'll add the event system, and we'll demo through localhost. So we'll come back to this, the network scene, save it, create empty, yeah, events. Yes. And we'll go back to here. And Control B. Which you guys can't see, unfortunately. Right. So in just a second, this will have built, and you can see it running. Okay, so there's our guy. And here's the templated lobby. So I can just say host a multiplayer game. And now it shows me that I'm ready, and I'm waiting for other players. So if I go over here, I can join. So I see there's another player there. I'm ready. And there's this guy. I'm ready. And there we go. So if I go down, well, you have to trust me that I'm shooting that dude. But I didn't actually hook up the other things. So that's the lobby. Hopefully you find it useful. If you have any input for us, you can send it to us through the forums, or you'll have our contact information at the end of this. So the next thing we want to show you is the Matchmaker. So we just showed this thing running through localhost, and we want to show how it will also run just as well through our Matchmaker. So the outline for this is we're still using the 2D shooter example. We're going to create a project in the Unity multiplayer cloud dashboard. We'll get a project ID. Then we'll configure that project in the dashboard still for this for the Matchmaker. We'll currently have to copy that project ID back into player settings, but like Lauris was saying earlier, in 5.2 we'll have this connect window, which makes this all magical. It all just goes away. You don't have to do any copy paste. And we'll build the project, and then we'll run it through the Matchmaker. So with that, I guess we'll switch over to the dashboard. Mr. Lauris.
Right.
Yes, there you go.
So this is what you'll see when you log on to the multiplayer dashboard. It's like
The URL.
That's, yeah. You can see it here, multiplayer.unity3d.com. There's all kinds of services here in one location. So when you create a project, you can configure everything for that project. There's just one concept of the project being shared everywhere. So we don't have steps needed every time to use this service or that service. So we're trying to make all this and add this all to one place. Like this portal has things to set up organizations. You can create a project, you can add your collaborators, and then everybody can see that project. Maybe you can add members which some have write permissions, or some only can view. Some can set up subscriptions. And now I need to go back.
No, there's back to this.
This?
Oh, what have you done?
This machine is not very nice. Oh.
I just go back to multiplayer and
Yeah.
set the URL. The address bar. Here, I'll do it. I can navigate faster than
Oh, there it is.
Oh, okay.
It's just it goes out of sight and I lose
Yes.
track of it.
It's the
Yeah.
thing. Okay.
So we're back here. So that was just things you can fiddle around with. So let's create a new project called something. You can set up a project, set up, I guess you want four ships per game. Then you'll get a cloud project ID down here, and you can copy this into Unity, and I guess I'll need to find the player settings. So like this, like you just need to find the player settings through the build settings or through the menu. I can't see the menu, so I can't do that. So here I already pasted it earlier, but yeah, I'll do it again. Like this is now like a known project for the services. So all the services now have a concept of this project, and you can configure services for it. So I should maybe build again. Yes, it's okay. So I need to find the thingy on the other screen.
There we
Oh,
go.
there it is.
Oh, kill it.
Oh no, this is the old one.
No, I got it. You have to hit the function key.
Ah, stupid keyboard. That's why I didn't build it.
Yes. Okay.
This time.
Oh,
it
drag it
works.
over.
Now I need to find it again. So now we can use the Matchmaker. Like this Cloud ID step is required one time, and after that it will remember like what project ID this is, and later on you just enable this. You click a switch, and you visit the window, and when we have the editor integration, and then you just configure it there. So it will be simpler, but this is how we're starting it up. So we can create a match and call it Unite, if I can type. Create a game. Now it's connected to the Matchmaker, and it's connected to the relay. And now I can start and find matches. So I see my match. I can join that. And it's connecting to our cloud relay. So now I have the game session, change colors, let's play. And now it's like going through the relay.
We'll start the other guy.
Yeah, they can see each
there-
other. It works.
Yes.
There he is. Yay. Okay.
Yeah.
So
And that's going through, the Matchmaker and the relay, and I think it's probably US East still. No, it's
yes,
Frankfurt.
No. Yes. Frankfurt.
It is Frankfurt, yes.
It detects where you are.
It detects where you are. That's an important point, actually.
Yeah, that's like the areas are set up for like DNS detection, like of where your IP address originates from. So you will find matches closest to your data center every time, like without doing anything. Should I go back to the slides? I don't know how to keyboard.
Oh, I'll switch it back. Okay. And so what you just saw was first we showed you this the lobby to make it easier for you to get your players all coordinated, and it runs through localhost smoothly. And then we hooked it up to run through our Matchmaker, running through Frankfurt relay server, and it also just works. And that was the whole point of these services. Like if you're not a networking engineer, if you don't know about network infrastructure, you should be able to make multiplayer games and get your players to find each other and to play together, and it should just work. You shouldn't have to worry about these details. And so it does. So that was the demo. And now, as we wrap up, we want to talk a little bit about the roadmap, and we'll open it up for questions for you guys. So I'll take the clicker. Yeah, so phase 1, we called our multiplayer foundation, and we just released that in Unity 5.1. So that was the networking components, the high-performance transport layer, and the services. So phase 1.5 is we want to get networking components for additional platforms like WebGL, Windows Store Apps, Windows Phone. We'll have we have a local discovery now through the transport API, and we want to make it work, for anybody who wants to just do local discovery. Like if you just have a LAN game, you don't want to actually go over the internet, and you don't need the Matchmaker, and you don't need the relay server. So we want to give you that option and make it really easy for you. And then multiplayer configuration support in the editor we talked about. That's the connect window, and host migration. So there's a rough form of host migration now, but again, if it's a LAN-based match, I'm pretty sure.
It's only for direct connections, and it's mostly an API you can use to set up migrations yourself.
Right.
So you can transfer state and so on.
Exactly. So then, but then the next step up is phase 2 and phase 3. So what we've called phase 2 has been we used to, maybe you've heard other talks in the past where we talked about authoritative servers. But actually, it's worth pointing out that like today, you can have authoritative game servers using the phase 1 technology. You can run a batch mode client today in any server, and your game logic can make it completely secure like you would expect authoritative servers to be. But with phase 2, we want to do something much more specialized. And we call this the simulation server. And it's going to be another set of tools and technology that focus specifically on developing, running, debugging, maintaining your game servers in the data center. And here we definitely want to provide this kind of like we provide the Matchmaker now. So people who don't necessarily have the wherewithal to make this themselves will have an option for you that it would just work. Now there's also going to be some people who will want to take that same thing but run it in their data center, and we think we are going to do that. We're not entirely sure yet, but this is on our minds. I mean, the point is we've heard feedback already, and we're trying to figure out how to make that work. But specifically for people who just want to run their own data center, we have this server library. So if you just want to run your own game server, but talk to Unity multiplayer clients, then you need to link in our server library, and it just works. And as I note, this is being researched and developed, so there's no release set, but we think we're going to have a fair bit of it ready for 5.4. So we'll see.
Initial support.
Initial support, yes. We may very well have like a phase 2.5 to flesh that out some more. And then, so the point of the simulation servers is to give you a little bit more secure and authoritative gaming, to give you more concurrencies as well. Because with the phase 1, it is a client-server model, but it is essentially limited to how much any given client can process. And that's maybe, depending on your game, probably not more than a couple dozen players. But with a simulation server, you should be able to handle a couple hundred players. Again, it depends on your game. If you have a crazy, heavy physics simulation, that's not going to be all that easy. But the idea is, again, to just increase the scope of what you can do, to increase the things that you can realize. So you would think of a simulation server as instance zones or arenas with maybe dozens of combatants, that kind of thing. So then the vision goes on to, like, say, phase 3. Like, the hardest problem to solve is the vast open online world. And so we have this idea of a master simulation server which coordinates all of your simulation servers, where you can partition your open world across multiple simulations, and then the master handles the smooth transitions between them. But phase 3 is so far out in the future, I don't really want to speculate too much on that. Yeah, I don't know. We had a few more points on the phase 2 stuff, since that's really coming up next. Is there anything we maybe should elaborate upon there, or should we just go straight to Q&A? I think the point here is that we really want to get your feedback. We really want to work with you all. We like working with teams that have a game in production that want to work with us and to take on some of this initial technology and help guide the direction of it. So, if that sounds like you should talk to us later. So with that, here's how you can contact us. Are there any questions? That guy has the mic.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
So just to be clear, in the first release of the services, will I be able to use my own matchmaking, but your relay?
No, not right now. That's a good question.
Well, you could use our matchmaker with your matchmaker. You still have to, they're so close together you can't tear them apart. But
yeah.
You could use your own matchmaker and then go through our
and then
matchmaker.
patch into our matchmaker. Thank you, Lars. Yes?
So when I have my own dedicated server, I don't need either the matchmaker or the relay, because the server has a public IP address and all the clients can connect to the server, and that's done. About
correct.
the simulation servers, you just mentioned that you're not sure yet whether we will be able to have our own simulation servers. Did I get that correctly?
No, okay, so yeah, that, I'm glad you asked, because that should be clarified a little bit. So we're talking about, building a specific kind of Unity client. Maybe it's a new build target. We're thinking about that. And maybe it already is running in our cloud, our AWS data centers. And the build is basically pushing the relevant, appropriately tagged bits of project to the server. So the question is that specialized client that's running in our cloud, is that something we want to somehow provide to you guys, or is it better to just give you guys the server library so that you can write your own game server, but the editor still pushes the correct relevant project settings to your game server? Is that a little clearer?
Yeah, I think so. So basically the simulation server would be kind of like hooked into all the cloud services, so you could do like patching the server and it just works and you don't have to worry about all the tricky issues that come with that. And if you want to have the servers in your own data center, you would use the library to implement those features that you need for that purpose.
Yeah, that's basically the rough idea. Yeah, the simplest message here is just that, there's a Unity simulation server that you can use, or you can build your own game server using the server library. The weird gray area that I think I confused everybody with was the possibility of taking the Unity simulation server and running it in your game server. That part, I'm not sure about. Because it's not because of anything weird, it's just because we're not sure how we update those across multiple data centers. I mean, if it's in our infrastructure, we can keep them updated and then it still works for everybody. But, we don't know what data centers are running what. So that's the thing where we're hung up on.
It's really about making the deployment easy, which is really non-trivial with these kinds of things. But if you want to handle that on your own, you could do it with a library.
Yes.
Cool.
Correct. Yes. You're welcome. There's the dude way back there. Or somebody, oh, there was this guy. I'll catch you. Or you can catch us at the Ask the Experts. Oh, we have time.
Hi. I was wondering about the limits you described with the CCU levels. Like,
yes.
you had these 4 kind of levels. How strict are these limits, and do you have a chance to upgrade within a reasonable amount of time, or is it a very hard limit?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Like, I can imagine a scenario where, you probably plan modestly. You're like, you don't realize that your game is going to be awesome and be 10x what it is, right? And so, but you find out on launch day, and you're like, oh, what happens? Do all these players just get stopped from connecting? No, we have a bit of a grace there where we'll allow it to go beyond your threshold for a certain period of time, but there will be notifications that you're expected to respond to because at some point, it has to go back. Or you agree to go to the next tier and then everybody's happy. Yes, there's one.
Hey, hi. There's no mention to physics in networking. I wonder what's the state of that part, that if you have to consider something about physics.
Do you want to cover this?
You mean having support for physics synchronization, like proper? So like the support we have now is pretty simple. We have a network transform component, and you can add it to an object, then you can tell it to synchronize the rigid body, and it will synchronize positions and velocity, and it will sort of try to make them match like right now, but it's not like advanced collision detection, rollback of state with timestamps to see like the different views, what actually happened to what you think happened. So like it's pretty simple right now, but this is one of the things we want to improve, like in the high-level API, like the higher-level components, add like support like this, where these things are all set up for you, and most likely you will need to tweak things depending on your type. But like we want to have like a proper network synchronization, like physics network synchronization, and a proper network controller synchronization. All these are like kind of advanced topics and could take a shitload of time to do. So we'll see.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? There's one in the back.
Hey guys, so just a quick announcement. So my team works on the standard assets, and Eric mentioned that the standard assets were being worked on for the lobby, etc. I just wanted to let you know that we'll have that ready either tomorrow or next week instead of 5.2. So that's good.
Yeah, thanks, Will. Cool. Awesome. Anyone else? This dude in the back was earlier. We'll get back to you. The yellowish shirt. He's got his hand up there. Oh, yeah.
Hey, you said there was an average 4K limit on the data that could be sent in the relay server.
Yeah.
What happens if a player would go on over that limit? Does the connection drop, or?
No.
Yeah, not exactly. It's like, so we understand that there's periodic spikes, and so we don't just drop a connection as soon as it goes to like 4001. We average it out over, I think, over the lifetime of the connection?
Yeah.
But at some point, if it's just, excessively over, I guess, then yes, it has to drop the connection.
There is a lifetime, and there is also a grace period, just to see if you'll do a sensible thing.
Then, even if you violate that, then it's just dropped. Yes.
Then it's,
Yeah, it has to.
Is that an option for the game to get a message from, we have dropped your connection because you were transferring too much data?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, we give a report to the configuration page with the number of drops.
Can't respond then.
we'll get that eventually.
I thought we were doing that.
We don't have that today.
Oh, no, we don't have that today. I'm sorry, but this is something it's actually in progress.
It's a part of the reporting. Like you will see, like you will even see if you're approaching like the limit, and we'll warn you that like be careful. Like if you go much higher, you will be at risk of using up all your bandwidth. So there's reporting to warn you and to help you adjust.
In the game then, eh? In the game, you mean then?
No, in the web portal, like the.
Yeah, but so it's not possible for the game then to know. I'm
really
sending too much data, so I'll have to.
So you mean
skip
like
things?
if this game instance, this client happens to be sending too much, if it will get an error message to that? Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think you're asking, is it possible to like do some sort of level of detail with network updates in the client based on feedback from the Matchmaker relay server?
Perfect.
Yeah, I think that's possible. We could do that. We should do that. That's
You should.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you all.
Thank you.